Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Madison Realty Capital, Capital One Bank, New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Customers Bank, AmTrust Title, Ariel Property Advisors. Additional funding has been provided by AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Citizens Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization, Handro Properties, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge NYC, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Meringoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Organization, Moynihan Capital Partners, and these friends.
It's legal. It's called sports betting. And it's due to the people sitting in my studio today that it's happened. People who worked hard to get sports betting in the state of New Jersey. So today we're going to talk about sports betting in New Jersey, sports betting around the country, sports betting in New York, and what's happening with sports betting. My guests today include Dennis Drazen, who is the president of Drazen and Warsaw, also the chairman and CEO of Monmouth Park, and it's called Derby Development. The man who pled the Supreme Court case to win this matter in sports betting, William Pasquarello, number 3, the partner of Princeton Public Affairs, and the casino and gaming specialist of counsel of Genova Burns, Nick Amato. So how many years was it? It was 4 years ago or 5 years ago you were all on my show. Bill was on my show recently on my podcast. How come it took place? It was destined to happen, but why this time?
I want to crow about the guy to my right because Dennis Drazen, who has the battle scars much like we do, really started this process along with Senator Lesniak, former state senator in New Jersey. They saw something nobody else did, and they got involved. They put their money where their mouth is and their legal expertise. And Dennis saw it all the way to the end, along with Senator Lesniak. There aren't many people who are involved from, pillar to post.
That's a good one, post on the track.
I had the privilege to sit next to Dennis at the hearing when the bill was voted out of committee. And I really believe that was a privilege. I'm just really honored to be involved under Dennis's leadership.
So explain to me and my audience, what can you do in New Jersey? What are you going to be able to do in certain other states? And how big is sports betting in total?
In New Jersey, we anticipate you're going to be able to make the same kind of bets that they currently make in Vegas.
But so the bets in Vegas have to be at the casinos, right?
The bets in Vegas are not just at the casinos.
Oh, they aren't?
They have mobile there, too. So in New Jersey, we anticipate that there's going to be brick and mortar, which is casinos and racetracks, and there's some language about some former racetracks. You're going to be able to have mobile applications, and you're going to be able to do online. And we anticipate that it's been a long fight, but the public is very anxious for this opportunity to have some alternative gaming. And New Jersey's been the leader in this. We started this fight, as you know, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, but
Why was it approved at the court now? Was it timing? Was it getting it through the system? What changed the momentum that it took place in 2018?
the court looked at the issues the first time around. The leagues and the federal government said there's another alternative besides declaring this unconstitutional. You can do a partial repeal and you're good to go. So we did the partial repeal, and the leagues tried to stop us again. And the leagues changed their position. The Solicitor General changed the position. But what really made the difference this time is that the Supreme Court took the case and recognized that we're talking about important issues of federalism, 10th Amendment rights, and states' rights. This is a case that was a victory for states' rights that will have implications in many other areas throughout the country. And I think that's pretty much that did it. A state cannot be commandeered to have laws on its books that they don't want, that their citizens have voted that they don't want. The legislators have tried to repeal. And you can't be forced to have a federal law that you're commandeered to spend money and resources on in the face of opposition from the state. So it's a huge victory throughout the country that will affect immigration, it will affect the marijuana laws, it will affect a lot of different segments of the country.
How much money will this produce for the state of New Jersey? Nick or Bill?
Las Vegas got $248 million. Net in 2017. And I believe that we will double that.
In betting?
No, that's in net revenue.
In the net revenue. And
Pay the tax on that.
Okay. So what's the tax on that? What will the tax
Depends
be?
whether it's internet or land-based.
Yeah,
So you got 13% versus 8.5 plus something else.
13% is...
Brick and mortar is 8.5%.
Because you have the operation, you have the facility, you have the operations of
the
running this.
internet is 13.
Now, will the people who run the internet be the same people who run the brick and mortar? I mean,
They'll be affiliated. They'll have JVs.
I mean, you have like
They won't be the
William
same.
Hill, right?
Correct.
Okay. They are a bookmaker or in the business in London, okay? Will we have similar sports betting as they have in London and Vegas? Will it be identical?
Yes.
Yeah.
For the most part, I mean, London has been doing this for a lot longer than Vegas has. You can bet on anything in London. You can bet on who the next pope's going to be, or the president of the United States.
Now, you've been involved with the casino business since the start many years ago in New Jersey. Why, when the casino legislation was originally enacted, why didn't they allow sports betting at the casino?
That's a political answer. When Bradley had his wanted to pass this bill to introduce POSPA, they gave a 1-year window. And there was an election going on, and New Jersey had 1 year in which to act. And the Speaker of the Assembly held the bill for the people to vote on it because of the gubernatorial election between Florio and Whitman, figuring that if they acted on it and they put a constitutional question up, the Democrats would come out more than the Republicans, and it would have changed the election. As it was, I think Governor Whitman won by over less than 3%. So while there was an opportunity, there really wasn't an opportunity for the voters to vote on it. And that's why that didn't happen when they had that 1 year.
I was it was one of my first jobs out of law school. I was assistant counsel to Governor Florio when that happened. Chuck Hytaian was the Speaker of the House. Donnie DeFrancesco was the Senate President. And Donnie and Governor Florio were aligned on this issue. There's a famous radio broadcast. I don't remember. It was on WOR. I don't remember if it was gambling or who it was, where Donald Trump is in a firestorm with Chuck Hytaian, and some colorful language was used.
Really?
It's great. I have it. Dennis has listened to it as well. Trump was for it. Oh, and isn't it ironic how life changes and the permutations of politics and government? Trump was for it then. Trump becomes president. Everybody thinks he's going to support sports betting. He actually says he supports it. But his Solicitor General didn't support the case before the Supreme Court. This is one of the few instances where the court in modern day has taken a case after asking the Solicitor General to weigh in, and the Solicitor General says, don't take the case, and they took the case.
Let's talk about
83% of the times the Solicitor General has taken a position, the court's taken that position.
what's the sports betting going to be in other states. Let's talk about New Jersey, let's talk about New York, and let's talk about Pennsylvania and Delaware.
So if you look at the country as a whole, we believe, and it's supported by ample evidence, including a 1999 Congressional Committee study, that the illegal market in this country is about $400 billion a year. So each state's going to get their share of the portion of the market that converts into a legal market. You're not going to put the bookies and the offshore companies out of business totally, but a significant portion of that money will become legal. So we think New Jersey, based on its demographics compared to Las Vegas, is a $10 billion market. And the casinos and racetracks in the states will all have their share in that market. And then if you look at it conservatively, and you try and compute the taxes that would be both brick and mortar and online, we think New Jersey will have a significant revenue stream, as well as the racetracks and the casinos. But each state is also going to have their share of that $400 billion pie. And as more and more states come aboard, right now, we're looking at a system where you're only going to be able to take bets from the people in your state, both your residents and the tourists that are
Do you
coming.
think that'll change, Bill?
It could in the future, but you need to see federal laws change because there's the Wire Act.
So it's similar in a way to the cannabis problem that you can't accomplish in certain states because of the legislation. It's legal to sell cannabis in Colorado, but federally you can't sell it on the law situation. And there's also a section of the Treasury bill saying on cannabis where you have to pay taxes on the gross profit. So there's different legislation and so on. In New York, where do you see? Is it the tracks going to be the beneficiaries? Who's going to be the beneficiary, or the casino?
For the sports betting?
Yes.
I think they both will. Bill's now permeating through the legislature now. The difference, not sure it's really that material to the public, but we're all involved in this. The difference between the way New Jersey's approaching this and New York is over what's called integrity fees. And
Let's go over this integrity fee, because I remember that was one of the big points that you fought in the case over the period of time. Integrity fee is basically a fee that the leagues want as a licensing fee for allowing this to take place, correct?
the leagues believe, after having fought this tooth and nail every step of the way, the frontal public mantra of the leagues is that, we're now going to have to monitor the games more closely. Well, what in God's name have you been doing the last 100 years? I mean, sports betting's been legal in Vegas, and parlays have been legal in Delaware. What have you been doing? Now all of a sudden, because a couple more states are going to come online and perhaps it will wave across the country, you now have increased costs. It's a money grab. And it's a hypocritical money grab because they fought this tooth and nail, and now they want to profit from it.
They have. I've never seen somebody with more nerve. They're calling us poor winners, But the blunt fact of the matter, has nothing to do with integrity. Because every once in a while they slip and they say, well, you're using our system, our players, our teams, we should get something out of it. And they say it with a straight face. It's amazing. I mean, they are about as hypocritical as you can get.
Why don't we explain what you did with William Hall on the initial betting hall and the new one that you just said to me about before?
I've always believed in this issue. When we were here last time, you had your crystal ball, your crystal apple. We told you we're going to win this case eventually. It was going to be a long fight. It's like David's fighting Goliath. But what we did in 2013, because of a strong belief that I had that we would eventually win this case, is we partnered with William Hill. So that agreement started with them providing us with some money to build out a sports book at Monmouth Park. At that sports book, we converted an area that we had there, which was a cafeteria, into a glitzy Las Vegas-style sports book that probably holds about 300 people. Following the Supreme Court arguments, I was pretty certain we were going to win this case. I mean, I've gone out there on a limb, and before the case was ever decided, I said, I'm not going to be 1968 Joe Namath guaranteeing the Super Bowl win, but I'm pretty damn close to that, 95+%. So
You might have bet on it.
I made a bet on it. So starting in January of 2018, we invested another $1.5 million to get our grandstand area. The first phase of that William Hill Sports Bar held about 300 people. Now the grandstand gives us access to another 7,500 people. And part of our deal with William Hill is they're going to build another Las Vegas-style sports book on the clubhouse side of our track at a minimum cost of $5 million. So we're all in on this, and we put our money where our mouth is, and we're ready to go. Everybody else is kind of catching up.
What's the situation with the DraftKings and the FanDuel? Talk to me about that. I mean, that was big business, and then it went out of business.
When it first came along, right? They said that the major leagues and the TV station said you can't touch it. It's like flipping a coin. It's gambling. Then all of a sudden, it was no longer gambling. Now it's a game. It went to daily fantasy sports and became a game of skill. Anybody who knows anything about gaming knows it's gambling. You can call it something else, but it's still gambling.
But hasn't there been recently an acquisition of one of the companies?
Yeah, so there was a merger with, for New Jersey gambling. There was a merger between Betfair and FanDuel. And there was a merger between resorts, in terms of providing a platform, and DraftKings. So those two companies that you're asking about will be participating in the New Jersey market in an online presence with their partners here.
So now we're going to have legalized sports betting, and we're going to have different companies doing sports betting. How are you going to market Monmouth and Derby, okay, compared to, let's say, somebody going to Resorts Casino or the new Taj or the Hard Rock? Because all of those places are going to be able to take betting, correct?
So Monmouth has a big lead on this because Monmouth has been at the forefront of this litigation, and everyone in the country knows that Monmouth Park was the leader in legalizing sports betting and overturning PASPA. So the free publicity that we got during the period of time that
it wasn't free. You had to pay for it, in essence.
I paid for the litigation. We certainly paid a lot of legal fees, and the human sweat and time we put into this, that's not free. But at the end of the day, we didn't have to go out and take a $20 million spend to go on the media campaign. So our name is out there, and we're going to benefit from that. But every company is going to be out there. Anyone that does business in New Jersey is going to start spending significant dollars to market their products, and the public will have to choose amongst the products.
I have one correction to Dennis. He said it was David against Goliath. It was Dennis against Goliath.
Bill, how do you see this having an effect on the other, Dennis prior to the show was talking that you have Monmouth, you have Freehold, and you have the Meadowlands. How do you see this on the other racetracks?
The dormant racetrack?
Yes.
Well, right now it's still in the Jersey bill that the dormant racetracks will have an ability to open up a book at their former properties. I happen to think that's grossly unfair. Dennis runs 52 meets a year.
Right, he runs a business.
And runs a business. And now these folks, just simply because they own a piece of property, are going to be able to get in the game. There may be some challenges on that. We shall see.
I mean, wasn't there a track in Cherry Hill at one time?
Yes. I think the other important thing here is, after all this battle, don't forget the Casino Association and the AGA, the American Gaming Association, were dead set against this. They were not on board at the beginning of this. They now are, and that's great.
The Casino Association or the Casino Commission in New Jersey?
No, the Casino Association.
Trade Association.
The Trade Association, the National Trade Association.
Both the National and Jersey were against this. The National because they were captives of Vegas, and the Jersey because, who knows, because most of them were Vegas-ly owned and didn't want to draw the action. But the interesting thing about this is now that they're all in, Dennis is going to be the first one to open by far, by a
They
long
open
shot.
on June, right?
But there's only 2 other casinos that are prepared to open within the next 30 days.
Which
I think others will come in. Well, the first is Mgm Borgata. They're ready to open. They're not going to be as quick and nimble as Dennis.
They operating themselves, or are they operating through a company like William Hill?
I don't know who they're partnered with.
They have an operator. I don't know if it's Betwin
Yeah,
or
I'm sure
888,
they are,
one of them.
but I don't know who they're.
It's either Betwin and 180.
Betfair?
Betfair at 180.
888?
No. He's talking BWin, Lee's company.
Oh, Bwin, right. Oh, the GVC bought
Right,
them out. Well, I'm not sure that that's going to work out, but I got you. They have an online operator, which was Bwin Party, that was bought by GVC, which has a global reputation for sportsbook. Kenny Alexander, the president of that company, just has immense experience and background. But back to the point of who's ready to open, it'll either be after Dennis, it'll either be the Borgata, or on June 28th, Ocean Resort is saying they just built
That's the old Revel.
the old Revel, correct. They just built a 7,500 square foot sports book, and they're claiming it'll be open on June 28th when they open. But nobody else is really.
For my viewers' edification, what can you bet on in a sports bet? I mean, London's different, but what can you bet on here? Can you bet on the coin course? Can you bet on the play? What can you bet on?
Well,
with the
there's a whole variety of bets that will be accepted. You can bet on games. There will be in-play betting. There will be proposition-type betting. There will be the kind of bets that you're talking about that if Vegas offers them and our Division of Gaming Enforcement approves them in the regulatory process, you'll be able to have a menu that's similar to what you can bet
I mean,
on.
will you be able to bet on how many points LeBron scores in the game?
You probably can, but I don't think we'll ever see in New Jersey that you can bet on a presidential election like they can in Europe. But
No, but here you're saying
Sporting
it's
events.
it's limited to sports.
Right.
Okay.
what you
bet-
won't be able to do in New Jersey is you can't bet on a New Jersey college team while they're in New Jersey or playing out of state, except in the major tournaments. They carved out an exemption for that.
As Bill was saying,
Everything
in
else is
betting,
fair
you
game.
can bet on whether or not a tennis player is going to fault.
In-game running, yeah.
So you're able to bet on tennis,
Oh, yeah.
Golf?
soccer,
Yep.
golf.
Anywhere there's a book made. You won't be able to bet on lacrosse yet. I was just retained to help them get a line on lacrosse. There is no line on lacrosse. But you'll be betting on lacrosse soon
Now
enough.
baseball, what can you
Baseball, NHL.
bet on? On baseball,
You'll be able to bet on balls and strikes during the game. And that's great, right? Because traditionally you can only bet on the outcome of the game. Now,
but you can only bet in the States. So if you want to bet on a baseball game, okay, and you're at Yankee Stadium, you won't be able to bet on the game.
in New Jersey, but you'll be able to bet in New York. And I think soon what is coming, and we don't want to get too lawyerly here because there are some barriers to it, but David Reebok, who is the director of the Division of Gaming Enforcement in New Jersey and respected globally, has been working for quite some time now because we also have internet gaming in New Jersey. So if you're in New Jersey physically, you don't have to be a Jersey resident, and you're 21 years old, you can do on your mobile or on the internet casino.
But
and,
you won't be
poker.
able to. So if I went to New Jersey, I'm a New York resident,
Right.
and I want to bet on sports, I could bet
Yeah.
Certain,
In the state. Yeah.
in the state.
In New Jersey, you'll be able to bet on sports. Right.
But
you
what do
can
you
bet
mean-
on that Yankee game that you won't be able to.
But what about the internet? You were saying the internet sports.
Yeah, internet gaming will be a part of this as well. Mobile and internet will be a part of this. Dennis will be able to take both bets, either mobily or someone at their desktop or
So
laptop.
now, so let's follow this fast forward. Now that this has been approved and all the legislation, things will be worked out over here. Do you see potentially one day casino gaming throughout the state and other places? Like the legislation, like the vote that took place a couple of years ago, they wanted to have casino gaming within the Meadowlands and other tracks. Do you see that taking place?
So we certainly are going to continue to pursue that because it's always been the core of something we believe is right for New Jersey. But there's always going to be opposition from the casinos, in my view. I think there will be another attempt. Jeff Corral, as you know, up at the Meadowlands, is very motivated to try and make that happen.
Now, with the new acquisition by MGM of Yonkers, okay, of the Raceway and of the Racino over there, don't you see potentially New York State possibly allowing casino gaming on those racetracks?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, one of the big reasons we don't have casino gaming in North Jersey, and we just had it on the ballot 2 years ago, is because the New York Hotel Association spent millions of dollars opposing it. And I think that the governor and the legislature realize that they're up against the clock. If Governor Cuomo is able, I mean the New Jersey governor and legislature, if Governor Cuomo decides to put that casino in Manhattan, which everybody has been sort of pushing back on, then...
I mean, let's be realistic. Look what's going to happen in Boston. I mean, they're opening up the casino in Boston.
Yep.
So now you're also going to have sports betting in Boston, in the state of Massachusetts, now that the law has been changed, correct?
Yep.
So you're going to see it more prevalent in other states.
I think there's going to come a time you're going to see it in North Jersey. It's just a question of time.
So what do you see? What about the internet betting that's been offshore? Do you think those companies are going to be out of business? Or
No. It'll be a function of the following. When iGaming started, internet gaming started in November 2013, there were 167 sites. I know this because I've represented many of them, offshore sites. That's down to, 40, 50 sites. The DGE, which has the incentive to enforce this, doesn't have the resources to enforce it. On sports betting, it's going to be up to the DGE again, and that's why Dennis and Nick and I have been fighting feverishly to make sure the tax was at a level that could sort of generate some resources, but not at such a level that could ameliorate the profits that are deservedly made here.
What is this rule that if you bet $10, you have to really bet $11? What's this $1? Who wants to explain that?
I think you're thinking about a bookie.
Yeah.
What about here?
We're not bookies.
No, so it's $10, you get $10 back. It's not...
Well, it depends what the odds are on that
Right.
particular bet.
Okay, but I thought there was something in the law with regard to a $10 bet, it's really $11 with the...
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I think what's traditionally known on the street as a VIG, you don't pay when you go to a legitimate book.
Okay, there was something, one of the articles maybe I read about you, Bill. Okay.
And the difference is the bookies, the tracks and the casinos don't give credit.
Right.
Okay. So one thing is certain. I'm happy that the three of you who were with me close to 4 years ago have really worked hard and accomplished sports betting, which I think is good for the states. It's good for the local economies, but it's going to result in taxes, take care of education and other things. And I'd like to thank Dennis. Only the best of luck this season in Monmouth.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bill and Nick, and I'll see you next week.